everybody, this is Ann Schragle. Today I'm going to talk to you about my interviews that I had with some teachers, as well as talk about my analysis of the lesson plan that I got from the school counselor. So the assignment this week was to interview 3 different teachers and talk to them about how they integrate technology into the classroom. I interviewed a high school science teacher, a school counselor, and a 3rd grade teacher. And I wanted to interview different teachers just kind of across the board just to see how they integrate technology into their classroom. I thought I would pick a teacher who specialized in one subject, a teacher who kind of taught all subjects across the board, and then support staff that has to also go into the classroom and teach, which is why I picked a school counselor. And I guess surprising and not surprising all at the same time, I found that most of the answers to the questions that I asked about technology were kind of universal across the board. In regards to the questions that I asked them how they creatively integrate technology into their lesson plans and into the classroom. I also asked them how they collaborate with either other teachers within their school or in the district. I wanted to know a little bit about professional development and how their district makes sure that they're kind of on the up and up with all of the new research for technology. And I just wanted to see just kind of overall what they thought about technology and integrating that into the classroom. So here's a list of all of the questions that I asked the teachers. And the science teacher, one of the things that he told me was that he was doing an astrology unit, and he wanted students to be able to learn about constellations. So he had the students use iPads and like a stargazing app, and they would hold that up to posters that he had of different star constellations. And that app would tell them what that grouping was called and give them a little bit more information. And they kind of walked around in groups with that. And then within the same group, they had to create their own planet. And then they got to use technology to analyze different data and determine if life could form on that planet, or as he said, a student said, or if my planet blew up. So that was kind of cool to see how he integrated technology that way. The 3rd grade teacher, she tries to use it as much as possible. One of the technology, I guess, programs that she uses called Cave Run, and it's for multiplication. And she's able to use that as a whole class. So she puts it up on her smart board, and then the whole class has to work together. And she said that students are able to work with one another, and some of the students who may be kind of lacking in using a computer individually can learn from other students, but then they collectively kind of come together and work on that critical thinking and decision making skill, which she found was really important. And then the school counselor talked to me a lot about college readiness. She was in the college readiness kind of department, and so that was kind of her forte. She talked about a unit that she was teaching with sophomores because they were starting to develop their careers and understand everything that goes behind that. So she was telling me about a Holland code, which is like I believe it's a 3-letter code, and then they plug that into what's called ONET, which is a website, and then that website gives the student a variety of different, I guess, bits of information. So it links their personality to their career. And she actually shared her lesson plan of the ONET lesson that she was teaching to sophomores. And I got to kind of pick that apart a little bit. I would say overall, she is very much into using technology in her lesson. She told me she doesn't like standing up in front of the class and lecturing. So she likes to use PowerPoint, which I saw in her lesson plan. She wants students to be able to use technology on their own. So this particular lesson, they were in the computer lab, and so every student had a computer and had to complete a scavenger hunt. I guess one of the maybe pitfalls, if I would say that, of the lesson was that on the PowerPoint, she just put the directions about like click here and then do this. And I think some of the students could have gotten confused. I think if I was to kind of go in and teach that I would share my screen and just kind of make sure that everybody was on track with where I'm at and can see what I'm talking about. When I went on the website, the ONET website, it did look a little confusing, and especially when it came to integrating their Holland code in, and with working, with sophomores. I don't know. So I guess I would share my screen and just make sure that everybody was following along. But otherwise, I felt like her lesson plan integrated technology wonderfully. She also had her standards, which I did some research, and those standards were the ASCA standards, which is the school counselor standards. And so I just compared those to the ISTE standards and found that they were pretty similar. I compared that just in my reflection a little bit, but across the board, they were pretty similar, and she was meeting her standards. And I'm glad she put that on there on the lesson plan. I think that's important to identify what standards that you are meeting, especially if somebody's going to kind of audit your lesson plans. Okay, I wanted to talk briefly just about the checklist when developing a lesson plan that is technology enabled, and kind of what we as a group collectively came up with questions for that checklist. I wanted to give some time in order to see what my peers posted on the discussion board, and it looks like we had some similarities across the board, and then I also just picked a few that I felt were appropriate for my checklist. So the 5 items that I picked were, the first one was, what happens when technology fails? Like, what is your plan B? The second one is, how do you choose the right technology for your instruction and for the purpose that you're trying to, achieve in your lesson plan? Are the students able to work on the platform that you provided? Are you given proper instructions to your students? Can they meet those objectives? The fourth one is, will the lesson allow the student to be able to achieve the outcomes that you have outlined, and can they also meet their personal goals in that lesson? And then finally, the 5th one that I picked was, is this an opportunity that students can take so that they can work collectively and collaborate with one another as they work through that assignment? So those are the 5 checklists that I would like to use for my lesson plans that have technology. So overall, I really enjoyed this assignment. I got a lot of information from a lot of different types of teachers, and I'm really excited to start implementing that into my classroom. Thanks.